all of our supporters of the Black is Back Coalition and the Uhuru movement. Today is day 2 of our 15th annual conference. And the theme of this conference is advancing the right to anti-colonial free speech, not one step backwards, forward to September 3rd. And I'm going to open again with the message that we had yesterday for the United States government. Hands off our chairman, Omali Yeshitela. Hands off Penny Hess. Hands off Jesse Neville, otherwise known as the Uhuru 3. The Black is Back Coalition stands 100% behind them. Forward to September 3rd, we will win. The charges are bogus. And it's just a continuation of COINTELPRO, as we know it has always been. And with that, brothers and sisters, as we are talking about this conference, as we are learning about the work of the Black is Back Coalition, please keep this in mind and make the connections that this is one of the reasons the work of the Black is Back Coalition, as well as the work of all the other organizations within the Uhuru movement, is the reason that they are coming after him as they seek to put down the Black liberation struggle and all struggles for liberation. Uhuru, I just want to open up with welcoming again the steering committee and thanking them so much. We're just going to briefly go over the members of the steering committee. Of course, our chairperson, Omali Yeshitela. I'm Lisa Davis. I'm the vice chair. Ilikia Ngoma, she is the secretary. Then we have a brother Ajamu Baraka with Black Alliance for Peace, Amanda Wallace, Operation Stop CPS, Sister Belinda Parker Brown, Betty Day. Actually, I was just reading the names. I should have been clearer about that. Sorry, tech people. But Betty Davis, Brother Dawood Khalik, the chair of the Reparations Working Group, Reverend Edward Pinkney, Black Autonomy Network, Jihad Abdulmamet with the Jericho Movement, Dr. Maximella Odom, president of NPDUM, Paul Pumphrey, Friends of the Congo, Sister Yejide Owen Miller, African National Women's Organization, Brother Life Malcolm, Black People's Advancement and Defense Organization, Zaki Barudi, President General, Universal African People's Organization, Tasha Thomas, Youssef Dosset, Jamila Feenster, the Joko Collective, Brother Cam Howard, Reparations United, Tayara Oshosi, the Political Education Working Group, Emmanuel Maku, Youth Student Working Group, and then we have our members in memorial who have had to transition on, Brother Glenn Ford, Brother Ralph Pointer, and Sister Zena Crenshaw Logo. They are with us always, and thank you so very much. And the reason I just wanted to make it clear that I wasn't calling for the PowerPoint to be shown is because the PowerPoint wouldn't match with how I was reading. So again, apologies for any confusion about that. And now, how about our African Nation Fight song? We always like to lead with that as well. And that was the composer of that is our secretary, Ilikia Ngoma. Uhuru.
Shout Uhuru for Patrice Lumumba's life won't be in vain. We are winning. Keep up the work in Marcus Garvey's name. We are winning. Independent and free is what we will be. We are winning. Africa will bask in our victory. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom organization. Socialist world, our creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning.
Uhuru. Also,
Uhuru,
I want to introduce my co-moderator, Brother Sayaro. Take it, Brother Sayaro.
Uhuru, powerful
Uhuru.
yesterday, going into today. Remember, everybody, you can check this out. If you're not online with us here in the room, YouTube and Facebook is streaming live. And right now, we're going to have the live wire, the connector of all the dots, Chairman Omali Yesatella, to give us the summation of all of yesterday. And you know, he could put it down because he is the one who had created everything that we're doing in time, and is really appreciated. Uhuru, Comrade Chairman, you are
Uhuru.
most powerful. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Bring it on home.
Uhuru, comrades. First of all, I want to express my appreciation to everybody who has come to participate in this national conference for Black is Back Coalition, Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. It is a conference where we kind of sum up the previous year and put forward our anticipation of what it is that we will be accomplishing in the forthcoming year. And I want to say that obviously this is a conference that's occurring at the time where the whole African liberation movement and the question of democratic rights, constitutional rights, free speech, the basic Bill of Rights that we have presumed, many of us, or many of the people in this country presumed to be representative of the democratic foundation of this country. And what we have come to understand for some time now, certainly African people have, I suspect Mexicans and other indigenous people have known this for the very longest time. A problem has been that a certain kind of isolation of white people or colonizers in a particular way that would permit, influence a kind of ignorance on their part in terms of what was happening to the rest of us and how free speech and other constitutional rights have been denied us continually. And that many of us are able, because of that, to see that these charges that's being launched against us or have been launched against us, and the intent of the United States government to imprison us for long periods of time is further evidence of the absence of any freedom. And it speaks to a need that the government has to not keep Africans ignorant, not necessarily to keep Mexicans and other colonized people ignorant, but to keep the settlers, the colonizers themselves, the majority of the white people in this country, ignorant of the reality that exists here. The assumption is that having fostered the severe, deep, profound kinds of slander against everybody who's not white, fear-mongering, and not without reason, because white people know the crimes they've committed against the majority of the peoples on earth, and certainly against Africans, and certainly against indigenous people. So it's not a baseless kind of assumption that the government would have that white people can be frightened by the notion of Black people moving to achieve our own freedom. We see evidence of this in every aspect of our lives too often. But the point is that we know, and growing numbers of people know, and an error, I think, of the government is not recognizing that this attack on basic democratic rights, using African people as foils to do this, this attack on democratic rights has moved into the general colonizer population. White people are being affected by this too. And like it is with African people, there's a material basis for that. The material basis, obviously, for Africans, Mexicans, and the rest of us, freedom for us means the liquidation, or certainly the deterioration of the stranglehold that colonial white power has on our lives. And this colonial white power that I'm talking about is what sends white children to their European vacations upon graduation from high school and things like that, which provides tree-lined streets and things like that, which are foreign to, generally speaking, to African people. And so there's this fear of anything that speaks to freedom for African people. Think about what the freedom of the indigenous people, who they call Indians in this country, what that would mean. The recapture of their land, their resources, it would liquidate the whole notion of America. America was something that was born as a consequence of stealing people's land and resources and stealing African people's labor. This is the conundrum that they are faced with, the colonizers are faced with. And this is the conundrum that seeps down into the consciousness of the majority of white people in this country and around the world. And the thing, however, is that while there's been a presumption of democracy for white people, it was democracy that was based on that was founded through, based on tyranny, oppression against the rest of us. And so as the rest of us move toward freedom, then we see this democratic deterioration for white people as well, because the foundation of what they have relies on continuation of our oppression. And our responsibility, of course, is to be free. And part of that search for freedom is to win certainly the oppressed and the colonized to unity with ending this relationship, but is to create a process wherein white people who are colonizers, in many instances settlers, can see that their future, however much they may detest it or hate it, is linked to and dependent upon the future of Africans and other people in the world. But it's not going to be a situation of white people living in the world by yourselves, that the rest of us are going to be here and going to do everything possible to stay here, to stay on this planet, to have futures, to grow our children, have dignity on this planet. And that's what we're fighting for. And there's no dignity in being oppressed, and there's no dignity in being oppressors. And so the thing is that we've opened the door to change that. I want to say thank you, everybody, for being here. A special appreciation to Comrade Vice Chair Lisa Davis, and to Comrade Kenge Mayele, who has played such a profound role in making and holding this process together at this time. I see with us today are Jesse Neville and Penny Hess, two of the Uhuru three. They're people who traveled here from various places, from Washington, D.C., from Chicago, Illinois, from I can't even name all of the places because some people I've seen them in various places throughout this country and don't know exactly where they're coming from at this moment. But from St. Louis, there are people who are here. And I just want to appreciate everybody. And I want to send out again a special shout of appreciation to our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa in particular. But there are others who are not in the United States. And we heard from Comrade Louise Kinshasa, who is the leader of the Department of International Affairs of the African People's Socialist Party and the Secretary General of the African Socialists International. All of you, the veterans of our movement, all of you, because everything relies on you. All of you who are there, who are members of the Black is Black Coalition and the various organizations. Because as you know, listening to what we just did on yesterday, the incredible presentations that exposes with such clarity and depth the historical relationship and current existing contradictions that Africans and others face living under the leadership, under the dominion of a dying colonial imperialist system, and how it's acting during its desperation and what have you to cling to its own existence, making it possible and capable of ignoring even its own laws and things like that, which is what we're looking at right now. The fact is that we know that the rulers of this country do everything possible, everything necessary from their perspective to prevent this truth from being told and being heard from peoples. That we think about what would happen if the majority of the people in this country, much of the world, would have been able to hear the discussion of yesterday. And while we had, a good turnout, but it's nothing like what we should have and what we could have if Zuckerberg, if the owners and controllers of the New York Times and Washington Post and all of those other entities that control, develop and contribute ideas and information to the majority of the peoples of the world, what the difference that would make. If you understand that, and if you understand the significance of what we did on yesterday, then it becomes clearer why the United States government would attack us the way they have attacked us, why they would come at 5 o'clock in the morning, pre-dawn, with armored vehicles, why they would come with armed thugs in military gear, the same kind of gear that's being used against people and that they used against people in Afghanistan, that's being used against people in Palestine, that they've used in wars to keep people living under colonial domination. So they've come in that fashion because they cannot, the colonizer cannot tolerate truth. Someone may ask the question, how and why should they believe what we say as African people, as people who are locked into relationships, solidarity with African people, with Palestinians and others? Why should they believe what we say? The United States government, the FBI, says something different. And of course, you don't know us, many of you never saw us before. But what you do know is that the oppressed cannot be free without being able to expose the truth. Truth is the weapon, as the oppressor has even acknowledged in attacking us. They said that we are using free speech. We've weaponized free speech. We've weaponized the ability to tell the truth. And the oppressed cannot be free without truth. This is why they will say that you can't have Black history and can't learn certain things in school the oppressed must have truth in order to win freedom. But the oppressor must misguide people, must cover up the truth. This is just a natural consequence of the kind of relationship that we have. At the moment you say and can admit at any juncture that African people are oppressed, if there are oppressed people, there must be an oppressor. We don't oppress ourselves. George Floyd didn't kill himself. Malcolm X didn't commit suicide, neither did Martin Luther King, neither did some 30 members of the Black Panther Party in something like 1968 alone. So there's somebody who doesn't want the truth to be told and does everything possible to keep truth from entering into the public spaces and the public consciousness of the people. That's what we're contending with. So yesterday was a day of truth telling, and I thought it was compelling. I want to share something with you because I think your presence here and today and the 15 years that we have existed is the best evidence that can be offered to refute the nonsense that the government has put forth to charge us, except it's the best evidence. And just again, listening to the testimony that the presentations made on yesterday, I want to share something else with you. Because what the United States government has said is that the criticism that we've made of United States policy leading to the war that threatens nuclear destruction of the whole planet Earth, that's using people in Ukraine and Russia as pawns who are dying under ruthless and deceptive and criminal leadership. The things that we've done to criticize the treatment of African people in this country, raising the question of genocide against our people, raising the demand for reparations to repair the damage that we've done to our people. The things that we've done by running candidates for election and what have you, were criminal activities inspired by Russia and Russians. I want to share with you something that was done for the Black is Black Coalition in 2009. This was written in 2009. And I'll be brief. Uhuru sisters and brothers, this is to the coalition, 2009. When we started this trek on September 12th to build the Black is Black Coalition, and the rally and mobilization now scheduled for November 7th. This is where we'll be building for the first mobilization by this coalition in Washington, D.C., March on Washington, D.C. This is after Barack Hussein Obama had been selected and put in power or put in the White House so that it gave it a black face to white oppression. Many marvel at our audacity. Some were dumbfounded that we would take it upon ourselves to challenge the direction of U.S. domestic and foreign policy while an African was at the helm of the U.S. government. And here we're saying, clearly challenging U.S. domestic and foreign policy. 2009, some were intimidated by the notion of confronting an apparently popular Black president, and especially within the short time span from our inception and the proposed mobilization. We came into existence on September 12th. We said on September 12th, we marched in the White House on November 7th. So that was bold, a national mobilization. However, it was not long before it became clear to us and others that we were exactly correct to organize this coalition and to call for the November mobilization, demanding resistance to U.S. wars and occupation inside the United States and abroad. Some of us came to the coalition and the mobilization reluctantly, having been Obama supporters and hoping that his election would mean a real change in direction for the United States government, that for the first time, maybe the real interests of our historically oppressed and brutalized people would become legitimate agenda items for the government. Some of us had overlooked his campaign statements and actions that denied reparations to our people. joined the reactionary course of white nationalists in condemning black fathers, and sought favor from Jewish money and influence by groveling at the feet of reactionary Zionists in Miami. As unseemly as it was, many thought it was simply an act to get elected, one that he would renounce once in power. Others of us came to the coalition fully convinced that Obama was exactly what he appeared to be, a tool of imperialist white power designed to disguise the real source of power, deflect criticism, and undermine the efforts of the oppressed to organize and resist our oppression. We saw the selection and election of Obama as an attempt to confuse the world's peoples by placing at the helm of US imperialist power someone who looks like the vast majority of the peoples being victimized by imperialism. Whatever our initial thoughts about Obama, it soon became clear to those of us who came to the coalition that the US government was actually escalating its predatory war initiatives, adding more troops to Afghanistan, killing more people in Pakistan, maintaining the occupation of Iraq, firmly supporting the illegitimate separate state of Israel, enforcing the economic blockade of Zimbabwe and Cuba, and extending military forces to Colombia as a real threat to the popular government of Venezuela. You see, the same things we were talking about 2009, they exist today, the same kinds of contradictions, the same actions occurring now that we were talking about then. We watched Obama bring into his cabinet holdovers from the Bush regime and his giveaway of trillions of dollars from the public treasury to bankers and corporate bosses, while our people were expected to suffer in silence the consequences of the subprime mortgage scam that was invented by his campaign financial chair and that resulted in massive foreclosures and the loss of billions of dollars from our already suffering community. His financial campaign, campaign financial chair was Penny Pritzker. It's her brother that they were also pushing to become Kamala Harris's vice president's election. This money force in Illinois that's ripped off bank resources for people, left them impoverished and what have you. So this is what we were dealing with, and we're facing charges. In addition, we knew that the government of Pennsylvania was maneuvering throughout the judicial system and attempting to manipulate white public opinion by justifying the execution of Mumia Abu-Jamal. Scores of other men and women who sacrificed their lives to win our freedom during a time when we were murdered in our churches and homes were simply wanting to register for the Democratic Party that now so firmly embraces Obama, are rotting in prison cells or existing furtively in exile. Hundreds of thousands of young people have been disappeared into the prison system, especially young men of childbearing age, those most likely to join the ranks of resistance to our miserable conditions of existence. No wonder we answered with a resounding yes to the idea of the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, no matter what our stance around Obama had been in the past and what it might be even now. The reality of our situation as a people has compelled us to build a social movement that does not rely on the goodwill of our rulers or the charm of those who claim to represent our interests. We have come to understand that anyone who claims to represent the interests of our people must be compelled by the strength of our organizational will to address our interests as a condition of receiving our support. We know that the destruction of our movement by the US government, from the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, and Bobby Hutton, and the mass imprisonment of Black community organizers from the Black Panther Party and other legitimate organizations, is what made it necessary, what made it unnecessary for Obama to be accountable to his own community. But truly, Black is back. This is something that was made clear almost immediately with our founding, and the call that we have made to our people to step forward to reclaim the mantle of resistance that is our righteous legacy. Almost daily, Africans are joyfully uniting to claim their place in the ranks of our sorely needed movement, not only in the US, but in England, Canada, and most recently in the Caribbean. Growing numbers of students have volunteered to organize their campuses. In almost every region and and more states and cities on the march. The march is on and the cry is forward to DC. Of course, there are those who will not be with us, and they will have a dozen reasons for not joining in this movement. Some are politically crippled by ignorance. They have yet to understand the issues, something we can repair moving forward. Some do not share our vision or are incapable of accepting our principles of unity. However, we are clearly on the right track, and it would be a mistake for us to stop or turn back now to attempt to satisfy those who are currently unwilling or those who assume they have a better way. We have an incredible coalition building a social movement that many would have believed impossible just a few weeks ago. But we are here and we are growing, seeing this 15 years later. Opposition to our movement has been slow to mount, but it is surely forthcoming. It has been slow to materialize because our enemies had considered themselves successful in neutralizing or destroying our will to resist. The selection of Obama was to play a strategic role in reinforcing that presumption. Our existence is the greatest threat to the status quo since the destruction of our movement through mass jailings and assassination. Our movement is not something that will jump on the treadmill of appeasement of the various politicians or even Obama himself. We are not lobbyists who control the politicians with their deep pockets. And while lobbying is not in and of itself something that is untenable, we recognize that our power is in the organized people, not the politicians. Our coalition and the November mobilization, more than anything else, are to provide us the organization and social movement through which our declaration of Black is Back will shake the very foundations of the DC establishment. I think it was important to say that this is what we put forth in October of 2009 to the people, the forces that we had pulled together to build this coalition. It is a statement that describes virtually every contradiction, every crime, if you will, that the United States government claims that the Russians paid us to participate in 2015 or 14 or 15, etc. This is who we are. This is what we believed in. These are the contradictions that we described at that time that continue to exist on this day. And we anticipated that there would be a pushback, a fight back against what we were doing because we have kept the African Revolution alive. And we have pulled forces together who have been dispersed. And we have resurrected the whole notion of a struggle to be free, to be an independent, to have a capacity to feed, clothe, and house ourselves as a people. So I wanted to say that. And then I also wanted to just really express my appreciation again for the incredible presentations that we heard on yesterday, the work that was presented to us on yesterday. One thing that I'm really thrilled by is the emergence and sometimes a little shaky of the working groups that we had created. And there was discussion coming from the working groups. That was important. Outstanding, of course, was Comrade Emmanuel Maku. And he's heading the youth and student working group, moving to bring young people back into the fray, organized fray. Because the young people have always been there. They've been there and they've tried to resist without leadership. And that hasn't been, and without organization, but we are providing organization, providing ideological leadership, and providing forces from throughout this country, from various other organizations who can unite with the aspirations of young people to lead us to the future. I thought it was really important to hear from Emmanuel, from Comrade Lisa Davis, from the working group around health and other working groups, Comrade President Matsamela, who is head of the working group, Black Community Control of the Police, which was something that has a history going back to the Black Panther Party, really, in the 1960s, but something that was sparked at this moment in history when the colonizers themselves promoted a slogan that was misleading and could not take us forward. A slogan that that suggested that we should simply bemoan our situation as opposed to giving direction to challenge that. And the Black is Back Coalition's demand and the working group for Black community control of the police is a statement of an intent to capture the power of our own lives, the state power. It's an incipient state power that we're talking about creating. And I thought that was good, coming from Kermit Masamela, who's taken responsibility for that particular working group. We had, also I should mention to you, that African Nation Fight song, which is extremely powerful in my view. I mean, it tells the story. It really says what it is that we're fighting for. It really connects the African Revolution all around the world. It holds up all kinds of leadership. It says what we are fighting for. It was extremely powerful, and I'm hoping that everybody will do something to promote that. We had presentations based on the right, advancing the right to anti-colonial free speech. And it's really interesting because Kamala Harris stole, the bourgeoisie stole our slogan, which, you know, I've got a book titled, Not One Step Backwards. And this title of this, theme of this is Advancing the Right to Anti-Colonial Free Speech, Not One Step Backwards. And of course, a basis of that is the intent of the rulers here to push us back in history to that time when there was no anti-colonial movement, when we were talking about just integrating into the system, when we were not talking about having control of our own lives. And this is the basis of that. They wanted to kill Malcolm, they killed King, they destroyed the Black Panther Party, and then they want us on our bellies, you know, saying, please, boss, can we come into the house that you've stolen from on the land of the indigenous people and that we built? Can we have a room, a space? Can we just use the toilet or something to that effect? And we're saying, hell no, that's not what the struggle is about. And so we're talking about, we're not going backwards. And Kamala Harris, and what they do is the bourgeoisie, Zuckerberg, all of them have the ability to make sure that what you say doesn't get out to the broad masses of the world. And then they steal what you say if it resonates, if it thinks it's something that will resonate and people will gravitate toward, coming from Black people. And Kamala Harris has big lips too. So she would take our slogan, we're not going backwards. And the masses, the majority of people don't even know where it came from. They think it's like Hillary Clinton stealing this whole African saying, takes a village to raise a child. I just heard on the coming here, I heard a so-called a radio station in Tampa. They were quoting like Hillary said, it takes a village to raise a child. You understand? It's like Borderic hairstyle. You know, they take, you know, African cornrows and then attribute it to some white woman named Borderic. They take our things and then, because everything is a commodity, and they take our things and then hand it back to the world. So that's what somebody said about crossover music, talking about cultural theft. They've determined that crossover music, some people, is Black people trying to sing like white people who are trying to sing like Black people, right? And so this is the sort of conundrum if you accept it and we don't. So anyway, were you signaling me? Okay. I wanted to really appreciate when we talk about Africa speaking for itself, and we heard Africa speak for itself. We heard Comrade Paul Pumphrey, who gave, you know, like really powerful testimony and evidence of the theft of resources coming from Africa, how Africa produces all these resources and get nothing from it based on the relationship, the colonial relationship that has been imposed on us. And Hershey and these other major corporations who steal the chocolate, who steal the cocoa beans. They don't grow, there's no cocoa beans in Hershey, Pennsylvania. They don't have cocoa beans. They're not growing coffee, if you will. I don't. Starbucks, tries to admit that it's stealing the stuff by saying somehow what it does is representative of some kind of fair play. Because yeah, we got this from Ethiopia, etc. But this stuff comes from us. The computer that we are using now, the computer that made what's his name? Joel, what's his name?
Steve Jobs.
Well, who are you saying? Steve what?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah, Steve Jobs, that made him famous and stuff. I mean, he couldn't be famous without the coltan they're stealing from Congo, the resources that they steal from us. That's the relationship we're trying to change, and that's the problem. And Paul Pumphrey was talking about that. And we had Comrade Zaki Barudi, who's had a long-standing kind of relationship with Libya, who had met Comrade Colonel Muammar Gaddafi on different occasions and what have you. And then the US government and Hillary Clinton, who made the statement, you can't take a village to raise a child, made sure that none were going to come from Libya if she had anything to do with it, that she crowed over the murder of Gaddafi, who had the most successful economy in Africa at the time. And then, of course, Louisa Kinshasa, born in Congo, living in England, pushed into exile by what the United States government and other colonial powers had done to force him out of Congo. And he is currently living in England. And the presentation that he had to make, just in terms of the history of this relationship and how this relationship is articulating itself throughout the world today. We talked about things like the rise of our movement in what's called the Sahel in Africa. When we look at people trying to take our own power back from us and telling France and the United States to get out of Africa. And then Comrade Massimiliano Odom was the icing on the cake in terms of that discussion that we had. And part of the most important thing about that discussion is that it reaffirms the reality that stares us in the face every day. And for Africans, every time we look in the mirror, that you can't get on a boat in Africa as an African and then somehow get off in this territory that they've stolen as a Negro. That if we were Africans when we got on the boat, damn it, we're Africans now. And that this is a fundamental contradiction that we've had to deal with. They destroy your identity, they destroy your history. When they imposed on my father and his father the name Waller, you couldn't even trace the history anymore. When you look for Waller, it's lost. And what you come up is the history of a white person from Ireland or something to that effect. We're not Irish. And but we don't know who the hell we are because of this kind of assault. So this reminded us that we are one people, one Africa dispersed throughout the world. So the discussion that we had from the Comrade Massimiliano Odom that informs our response to the murders by the police that's happening even today, and puts forth a solution moving us in the direction of assuming our own power with the Black Community Control Working Group. We heard from Comrade Daoud Khalid talking about reparations and the move to organize all of the pro-reparations organizations throughout this country under the leadership of the Black is Back Coalition and the working group into a single trajectory. Wanted us, if not under our leadership, certainly to give it a coherent, the Black is Back Coalition would contribute to it having a coherent, unified trajectory. And then Lisa Davis with a typical presentation in terms of the healthcare issue that we are confronted with, and even contributing to our understanding that when we talk about healthcare, that living under colonial domination, where you can't even eat or what you have eaten for millennia prior to the invention of white people, what we were eating that helped to shape and determine who we are, what we are, how they would destroy our capacity to develop our own food developing process. And then they would destroy us, even peasants, living what we call living in Africa, that even the ability to grow food is attacked by them. And then they destroy our ability to grow food. And then they create a situation where some people with blue helmets would ride through our communities, destroying bleach flour to the people as a substitute for growing our own food and stuff like that. So all of this is part of what was talked about, and even this whole question of health. This whole industry in a society based on colonialism and capitalism, and where nothing is produced except for profit. So if there's a hospital somewhere in your city, don't make a mistake to think the hospital is there to deal with sickness. The hospital is there to make money. That's what colonial capitalism does. If you go and look at any of these commercials where they're selling what's supposed to be medicine, get this and get that, and then you can tell your doctor when you go that I want something that kills me slowly, or something to that effect. You take the medication that they talk about, and the medication they take, they warn you, creates other illnesses that's unrelated to the medication that you take, the illness that you were taking the medicine for. So that was good. And then, I mentioned Comrade Emmanuel Maku, who is in motion now, has developed a whole plan strategy to organizing young people and students. And then comrades from Joko Collective, which is an organization, working class intellectuals, taking their programs to the community, and they're in Los Angeles, California. That capped that date. So I just wanted to thank everybody, and I agree with everybody who's criticized me for going longer than what I was supposed to go. And there are people who correctly, and I should have alerted you and beforehand to make sure to keep the time thing right. But I just want to state again how much I appreciate everybody being here. And I felt yesterday was incredible. And I felt, again, I wanted to say, I felt like yesterday, and this entire process, our entire existence, is refutation of the bogus charges that they're making against us, and is evidence of the basis of those charges. And the charges are made because the existence of Black people and our struggle is something that undermines the whole system of injustice, of oppression, of exploitation. The whole system of exploitation relies on our continued oppression. It relies on the continued oppression and exploitation of the indigenous people on this land and colonized people who came into colonialism based on Africa coming under assault and being dispersed all around the world, creating a world economy for the first time in history. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Brother Chairman. Uhuru.
Chairman, we can never shortchange a summation that you give, because you are so intricate in how you deliver it. Next up, I'm going to do a short bio on S.G. Mwezi Odom, who is a leading member and organizer in the Uhuru movement. In January 2020, she joined the APSP-led mass organizations of Impedum, APDEP, and Andewal to return her skills and contribute to the African liberation struggle. Using her skills and training as a counselor and educator, Mwezi unites with the principles that her skills do not belong to herself as an individual, but rather to the whole African nation and its development. That's a powerful, powerful undertaking and statement of oneself. Uhuru. So now I'm going to invite Comrade S.G. Mwezi. I said Mwezi, I meant Mwezi Odom, to speak for 20 minutes on the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Coalition. And you have the floor, Comrade Uhuru.
Welcome,
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Welcome to you.
Uhuru comrades. Wow, I just really want to appreciate the Black is Back. Thank you for that introduction, Comrade Sayero. I want to salute the entire Black is Back coalition, you, Comrade Sister Vice Chair Lisa Davis, as well as Comrade Akinge, the steering committee, everybody who's on the AV. I always appreciate this coalition, and I really want to salute and appreciate my leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella of the African People's Socialist Party, as I serve as the Secretary General, but as the chair of this coalition, which has come under attack, and who is, leading this anti-colonial struggle. And so, as we say, as the theme of this coalition is advancing the right to anti-colonial free speech, not one step backwards, forward to September 3rd, it would be important for us to discuss why we are here in this period, calling on everybody to come out to September 3rd for the free speech trial of the century. And we are here because, just 2 years ago, the FBI, the US government, revealed itself once again with its attack on the African liberation struggle. And, right here in the belly of the beast in St. Petersburg, Florida, where many of you are right now, where this dynamic conference is being held, and in St. Louis, Missouri, again, in the impoverished Black African community. And so I just really want to say it's an honor for me to serve as the chairperson of the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Fight Back Coalition, this counteroffensive that is, proud to have worked alongside the Black is Back, throughout this, really dynamic and powerful fight back. And I just really want to salute this conference. And before I go into the brief slideshow presentation, we are going to show the video of the raids on July 29th, 2022, Uhuru.
This is the FBI. You have a federal warrant for this address. Keep your hands up and follow orders. This is the FBI. We have a warrant for...
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out. Something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here, that she refused to do.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
Need a breach? What do you need? Need one. I don't know. I told Ben with money. Don't take it.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of Black people around the world.
Uhuru. Uhuru, hands for Uhuru, hands of Africa. And Black is back. So I'm gonna go ahead and queue up a PowerPoint, and just wanna say that every time I watch that video, I just can't wait till we can, beat their asses in court, as we have been saying, kick the ass of the ruling class. And it's just an exciting period. And I just really want to salute the power and the genius of the African working class, which, had to pull together, which has organization, which is the African People's Socialist Party, which is the Black is Back Coalition. This, unity with the understanding that organization is the most powerful tool that we have. And I really want to salute everyone who has, helped this campaign, push it forward, because without that video, without us exposing this, they wanted to bury this and to have nobody know what happened on July 29th. And because of you, because of everyone, we are still here. So again, I want to join the call to advance the right to anti-colonial free speech, not one step backwards, and forward to September 3rd. So next slide. Thank you, comrade. So the case of the Uhuru 3 is what I'll just be talking about. And we'll have some time, I believe, for questions. But again, just to speak on the significance of this case and the anti-colonial free speech movement that has arisen out of this counteroffensive to these bogus charges that were, laid out. So again, the case of the Uhuru 3 will determine, next slide, the right, will determine the future of free speech. Next slide. And it will also understand that the case of the Uhuru 3 is a threat to the First Amendment, and understanding that this case is the most serious political assault on the struggle of the African liberation movement since the 1960s. And to understand that this test case, if Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the Uhuru 3 are convicted, it again will open the gates for the US government to charge anyone, for any speech that, again, they simply don't like, by alleging that this person, this individual, has spoken at the behest of a foreign government. And, we have just seen this with, recent news about this. This is continuing to happen. And as we say, this case will definitely and indeed open the door. So, again, when the US government indicted Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the Uhuru 3, they published a press release, stating that, quote unquote, we had weaponized free speech. The chairman just spoke on this yesterday, and I think it was very important, to talk about how free speech, is used, by the colonized versus how it is, weaponized and used, by the colonizer. And so one thing that, the chairman calls on us to look at, history of the First Amendment, right? The First Amendment to the United States Constitution was created as a part of the Bill of Rights in 1789 and ratified again in 91. And this was when, again, African people were still enslaved. These laws were written by those who were enslaving Africans, using state power to create this Bill of Rights, aka this First Amendment, that was never meant for African people, period, never meant for indigenous people, period. And so we are very clear that, that this attack on the right for African people just to fight to be free, is a reveals the, shakiness of this system. So yes, on July 29, 2022, this was when the African People's Socialist Party came under attack. And again, because of the work that the chairman in particular, right, has been doing and calling out, US aggression towards, any, US aggression throughout the world. And in this period, calling out, using the US aggression towards Russia, using Ukraine as, cannon fodder, resulting in, deaths and billions of dollars spent on its carnage. And, this is 50 years of the founding of the African People's Socialist Party and its programs. And on this slide here that you see, we normally show, the video shows just a few of the images, and these are just some more images that, that reveal what happened on July 29th, but to also say that these videos and these images were taken hours after the raids had already begun. So again, this was a pre-dawn raid. It was dark outside. And as we, say that this happened again at 5 a.m. in St. Louis, but we wanted to show some more photos. And I think the one on the left at the bottom is us receiving the indictment, right? Or this, search warrant, right? That was finally revealed. Again, 4 of our members of the movement were named as unindicted co-conspirators, and we have experienced a series of economic warfare against the African community. Next slide. Bank closures, economic sanctions, financial attacks, GoFundMe, fiscal sponsors shutting down, taking away funds from, from the radio station, as well as individuals as well. And again, on April 18th of last year was when the US government indicted the Uhuru three, who were later arraigned again on a $25,000 signature bond with, pre-trial conditions, passports taken away, travel restricted, having to check in every week with essentially a parole officer. This is what we have been also struggling for and fighting against for the past 2 years. We want to salute our lawyers and our legal team who are going to completely, expose the shakiness of these charges against the Uhuru three, which say that the Uhuru three are facing 2 counts of, one being foreign agents. Next slide. And also the conspiracy, on conspiracy charges. So a total of 15 years each for, Chairman Amalia Shatella, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville. And again, we want to quote our lawyer, Leonard Goodman, one of the attorneys of the Uhuru three, argues that, FARA, which is the Foreign Agent Registration Act, that is being used, in this case, is being used in ways that has never, this is the first time ever that a government has attempted to use Section 951 to target speech. And in every other section of 951 persecution that we have found targets conduct such as espionage, fraud, bribery, extortion, and all these other things. But the defendants, are being criminally prosecuted for making political speeches against U.S. policy, and that is not, what is happening here. And so it's really clear that this is a shaky case, and I really want to salute our legal team again, who is armed with the political power of the people going into this courtroom. So again, 50 years of struggle for Black freedom is why we understand that we have come under attack. The indictments again allege, next slide, a conspiracy, right, by a Russian government and the US co-conspirators to sow discord, to cause dissension, and to claim that Ayanov, this, somebody who was not even around, right, when as the party and the Black liberation struggle was, has continued to fight, attempted to interfere directly with, US elections in St. Petersburg, Florida, the, mayoral run, and the, District 7 city council run. And, that he planned to use these as springboards to catapult, the White House. The conspiracy is alleged to have begun in November of 2014, right? Based on these insulting, slanderous, and, racist premises that African people, again, as we've been saying, need Russians or anyone else to tell us that we are oppressed, and that we, and for how to fight for our freedom. So the FBI, and the US government is guilty, and we're clear on that. And the FBI's war on Black liberation struggle is not new. And as the chairman has said, the Uhuru three are not guilty of these bogus charges. And on the other hand, again, we say it is the US government that is guilty. It's the colonial state who are the real criminals, the FBI with its bloody track record of harassing and surveilling and stalking, infiltrating, and assassinating African and indigenous freedom fighters around the world. And again, we want to, acknowledge African martyrs. And this is, to understand that you don't even have to be politically anything to, to be, a victim of the colonial state. Just 2 days ago, we recognized, young Michael Brown, right, who, may have became a Fred Hampton, or, we would never know. But this is the kind of conditions that African people live under this colonial state, constant terror and oppression. And so, we just want to say that it is the FBI, it is the US government, it is the colonial state, the whole damn state that is guilty. And again, we want to, recognize that there was, the work, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but we also had President Matsamela, who, serves as the president for the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, which took out this petition, Africans Charged, Genocide, to, garnering over 130,000 signatures that was, mysteriously wiped away from the internet from change.org, weeks after the raids. We can skip this slide again, just looking at, again, the, just the unprecedented nature of this case. But again, how the US government continues to use, these foreign laws now to target speech alone. And again, arguing that it is not, and then here they are, the DOJ argues that this is not a violation of free speech because it is what they consider content neutral, not about what the Uhuru three said, right? Not about what the Uhuru three said. but the fact that Russians told them to say it. And, of course, we understand that this is absurd, and otherwise the DOJ would be indicting organizations like APEC or, other lobbying firms and, Washington think tanks and all these other, who are bankrolled by federal governments. So we just want to say that these are some of the things that we also want to continue to remind the people of, so that we can continue to arm our defense and our counteroffensive. And again, the most glaring proof that the indictment is not, quote unquote, content neutral is the language in the indictment itself. And this indictment accuses the Uhuru Three of spreading what they say is disinformation. And the government, again, is attempting to, as we have said, write a new definition for the word disinformation with this case, because now they are saying that disinformation doesn't have to be false. Again, disinformation does not have to be false. It can include the truth if that truth reduces trust in the US social system. So this is the bogus, nature of these charges. This is why this prosecution threatens to blow a massive hole in the First Amendment, because again, the Uhuru Three is smoke and mirrors for their really, for their what they understand is what they need, which is Africa, and everything, this whole colonial mode of production, that rests on the foundation of the attack on Africa, African people. Just want to say that. So I do want to just breeze through the next couple of slides, but again, we have filed motions, and there's a, next slide, there's an event coming up that I'll talk about briefly for the Uhuru Three. And we want to encourage everybody to go to this event. You're going to hear about the motions. You're going to hear from our legal team and other attorneys who are, a part of this fight back as well. Again, we say drop the charges on Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the Uhuru Three. We want to encourage everybody to take up this call to say hands off Uhuru. We want to appreciate those who have, all of our supporters. I really want to salute the Black is Back Coalition, for just its tremendous work. So many of you comrades have, and we can go to the next two slides. We want to again salute the Black is Back, and I do want to salute many of the members of the Black is Back who have used their own platforms to help promote this work. I want to salute Comrade Sister Lisa Davis, who is on the ground everywhere, Sister Ralph and Betty as well. Really want to salute those comrades and Comrade Ralph Presente. I want to also salute Joko Collective for their, let's go forward one slide. Thank you, Comrade. Joko Collective for their, opening up and creating a new, front, taking this fight back to intellectuals, right? And just really profound. Also, Comrade Brother Zaki Barudi had a really great interview with the chairman on his platform. Brother Charles Barron and Sister Inez Barron, really want to salute those comrades for the resolutions that have been placed. Comrade Jesse Todd as well, Brother Dawood, Sayero, Comrade Matsamela. If I name too many, I will forget people, but I do want to just recognize just the dynamic comrades in the Black is Back Coalition for social justice, peace, and reparations. So we're going to, Comrade, if we can, I'm going to skip to slide. There you go, keep going. Yes, so the Fight Back Coalition, I'm just gonna give some announcements, thank you so much. Some announcements of the, from the Fight Back Coalition. We wanna really salute the over 150 endorsing organizations and individuals who are taking on the call to, forward to September 3rd, forward to August 31st. So if you have not already, we invite everybody right now to go to handsoffuhuru.org. This is where you can sign up for the rally. Right there on the ground in St. Pete, across from the Uhuru House, we will be having a rally making the call, not one step backwards. We want this to be a massive show of support for the Uhuru Three. Many of you who are watching right now will be speakers and will be a part of helping to build this. And many of you are on the ground right now, helping to make this a really powerful, presentation of resistance. And so go to handsoffuhuru.org to sign up and click the button that says, I will attend the rally. Also on August 15th, the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition invites everyone to come to a planning meeting, again, to build for the August 31st rally and the September 3rd trial. In this meeting, you will get to find out more information about what you need to know around travel and other information. We will look at the calling for us to build Freedom Summer 2024. And again, updates and announcements from the Uhuru 3 Legal Defense, and hearing from other organizations and how they are building and building for this trial as well. Everybody, I want to invite, if you have planned to come to the trial and you have said you are going to come and you're just not sure about your housing or other details, that is fine. We ask you to go to handsoffuhuru.org/trial, fill out the form, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you may have in terms of what things are going to look like on the ground. But we invite you to come to the meeting, and this is how you will get those invitations. Follow us on social media. We are want to be able to expose this. We are fighting against all odds, and those who can't make it to the trial or those who can't be there physically will still have a way to be connected to this fight back. So again, go to handsoffuhuru.org/events. This is where all the events that I just said you can find right there again. So we hope everybody will attend the August 15th event, as well as August 21st. There is a First Amendment on trial event, which is looking at the political prosecution of the Uhuru 3, a really great panel of speakers that will be there. And again, just another call for all out to the rally on August 31st, all out to September 3rd trial for the Uhuru 3, drop the charges on the Uhuru 3. Chairman Amalia Shatella, put the state on trial, and hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. So I will conclude my presentation there, comrades, and I think I was a little over. So thank you so much to the BIB, and forward ever, backwards never. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Comrade S.G. Mwezi. You could never go over because you're out there and you're presenting. I love the way you present, and the Hands Off Uhuru meetings, fundraisings, and things. We could never ask for a better ambassador than yourself. I would like to open the floor up with you on for 10 minutes of questions from anyone who has a question to our comrade, Secretary General Mwezi Odom. Uhuru.
Also, let me just remind people that if you're in the Zoom room and you have questions, please put your questions in the Q&A. It's just easier to follow it from the Q&A than from the chat. So, because the chat scrolls, but the Q&A does not. Uhuru. Well, I'll start with the question. I don't see any hands raised.
I forgot one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah,
please. I was going to make one mention.
Raised, yeah. But I was just wondering if you could just explain a little bit more about what they mean by content neutral. I'm like, that nothing about what they say makes any sense at all, but specifically they're trying to say, oh, well, this is content neutral, so we would go after it. Could you explain that a little bit more? Thank you.
Uhuru, yes. And I did want to also say to Sister Lisa Davis, and also I wanted to say that two things on that. I think that's a really important question, and that we should discuss what that means when they say content neutral exactly. And also, Sister Davis, please remind me about the August 14th press conference or something that's happening on the ground that I don't want to forget to mention. I forgot to mention that in my PowerPoint.
Oh, and it's interesting that the chairman mentioned something about the New York Times, and he was talking earlier. But yeah, we're going to be local forces, New York, New Jersey. We are having a press conference in front of the New York Times headquarters Wednesday in New York City. That's located on 8th Avenue between 40th Street and 41st Street. I think I don't have the exact address in front of me, but it's right by Port Authority. People in New York will know that. And yeah, we're having a press conference to call attention to how the press, places like the New York Times and other corporate media, how they have been ignoring this case. We're going to use every opportunity we can, every pressure point we can to expose what's going on. And it will also give us more opportunity to pass out information as well.
Uhuru. Thank you, comrade. Yes. Please.
I have a hand up from Zaki Barudi. Did the question get answered? I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, the question about the content neutral didn't. And I can also even defer to another one of our comrades, one of the Uhuru 3, if I don't do a good job at it, to expand on it. But I do see Brother Zaki and Sister Belinda's hand. So just to say that what they are saying is that essentially that is not so much like the content neutral language in the indictment and how the state is arguing it is essentially to say that it is not so much what we are saying, and it doesn't really matter what we say, because what we had said, what the Uhuru Three said, or what they claimed they had said, was at the behest of the Russian government. So it could have been, and not to say, because we understand clearly that, if the chairman was saying, as the chairman says, Mary had a little lamb, that wouldn't be any problem. But what they're saying is that, oh, we said Mary had a little lamb and it was at behest of the Russian government. And so this is why. But it's clear that what the Uhuru Three and what the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement has always been about freedom of African people. And in order to fight for our freedom, we have to continue to expose the state. And so this glaring example of the leadership and the boldness of the African People's Socialist Party under the chairman's leadership, during a time when the entire world was seeing what was happening in Ukraine, and this total block by the social media and the colonial state to hide the actual truth. What was clear was the importance of exposing the truth to the people, and this is what before anybody else did. What Omali Yeshitela did was to expose what was truly happening and to speak about the history of this, U.S. aggression in Russia. And so that was the truth. And again, if this truth reduces trust in America, reduces trust in the U.S. government, they will claim it as disinformation. And it is again not about what we are saying again, but it is because we said it at the behest of the Russian government. So I don't know if that was a good enough job, Sister Lisa Davis, but and again, this is legal terms that, I'm still learning, but I do, understand that it's bogus. And I do want to defer to anyone who would like to expound on that if we need so. Uhuru.
I see two hands up.
Yeah.
I think Zaki Barudi was first, and then Sister Belinda Parker Brown.
Great, thank you, comrade.
And then also, if there are any people in the room in St. Pete, please let us know. Uhuru.
Uhuru. First of all, let me just compliment your brilliant presentation. And this is a kind suggestion. I mean, you have, in my humble opinion, you have summed up our gathering today, okay? But in terms of moving forward, are we able to just get your section, what you have presented, to be shared on all of our platforms, because, people's attention sometimes are short. But what I'm saying, this section right here, in my humble opinion, just lays out the complete case for dropping the charges, as well as the various images of the terroristic act of the FBI upon the homes and the offices of the Uhuru movement. So that's my question. Technically, I would like, or if minimally our organization get this cut out so I can present it to all my members and, and what have you. So again, I just saluted. Your presentation.
Uhuru, thank you, Brother Zaki. I want to really appreciate you. And yes, I do know that usually after these webinars, the BIB does slice all the presentations. So I can make sure that happens. Definitely, Uhuru. I can work with the comrades.
Belinda Parker Brown, and also panelists, when asking questions, it would be great if you unmute your cameras because we love to see your face.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't gonna do that, but
yes, we want to see you. We want to see you.
Uhuru, Sister Belinda.
Uhuru, yes, Sister, comrade, we really appreciate you. My question is that, first of all, can you elaborate on the fact that they never intended for Black people to have power in economic justice?
Right.
And why is it important for the people to show up on August the 31st? I think that's before the trial starts on September the 3rd.
Uhuru. Thank you, comrade. I think that's a really important question. One, there's two parts. And one is it's important for you to get to August 31st because right across the street, you will see what political and economic power looks like in the hands of the working class. You will be at the Uhuru House, which again, in that FBI video, you hear Comrade Director Akile, laying out, what they attacked, right? A community kitchen, a rental space, for the organizers and, and for the community. And, she went on and, this is really important to understand that they have never wanted African people to be free. And this attack and this, even what I think is really important about, this rally that will happen on August 31st, and where we are, as the chairman has called for Freedom Summer, is that it is, nearly 2 generations that have been pushed back and pushed away from this understanding of revolution. And again, this, the importance of even the Black is Back, right? To say that when we fight for social justice, peace, and reparations, it has to have a anti-colonial character or an anti-imperialist character. And I'm saying all this because this rally, will again ignite and reignite this flame and these embers that they thought had died in the 1960s, but have continued on with Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And so we want to rally to say hands off Omali Yeshitela. We want to, do it in the heart of the city of St. Pete. This is where, the Black Power struggle was birthed, in many fundamental ways with, organizers in South Florida, in the South, with SNCC. You will meet other leaders, who are still here. Sister Afia Wangaza will be there, Brother Mukasa Riggs. These were some of the, organizers in SNCC during this period, along with Chairman Omali Yeshitela. You will hear, this will be an important opportunity for us to show a massive support for the Uhuru 3, pushing back these charges and to hit the streets again, Freedom Summer. And so we will not back down. We want everybody to take part in this. Come, look at plane tickets, see how you can get there. If you need help getting to August 31st, you want to carpool or something, we have people coming from all corners of the United States. And so that's really important to, emphasize. And again, the economic and political power, is the only way that we as colonized people can have, some sense of, being able to determine our future. And so this is why building organization, building economic and political power in the hands of the working class is so essential and is such a threat to a system which literally, depends on our economic and political oppression. So that's what I would say to that, Sister Belinda. And I want to appreciate your question and all that you have done to help build for this fight back as well, Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from anybody in the room in St. Petersburg at the Uhuru House? Any questions? And also, since we can't get, could you just let us know how we're doing on time for this Q&A? Thank you, Chairman Uhuru.
Yeah, there may be other things, and I wanted to appreciate the response, the question by Comrade Sister Belinda and the response by SG Mwezi. And just contribute a little bit to that. Because first of all, our oppressors are using the law to pursue a political case. They're using the law, but this has no basis in legality. We say right up front, we didn't do what they said we did, one. Or they would, some instances, use a fact to hide the truth. They say I did some things in Moscow, Russia, and I did go to Moscow. That's a fact. But the truth of the matter is I went to Moscow to connect with people from all around the world to end the isolation of the struggle of Black people for freedom while the United States was killing people, all police every day killing people, and this information was not being established, put out in the best possible way, and certainly not put out in a way that said that African people in this country had agency and that we wanted certain kinds of changes. And so it's a fact that I went to Moscow, but it's a lie of what they said I went to Moscow to do and what happened in Moscow. It's a blatant lie. It's a fact that we participate in an election in this country. They can't criticize me for simply going to Moscow because the right to travel is something international law gives people the right to travel, and the United States doesn't prohibit people from traveling. So they will use the fact that I went to Moscow, which is true, but then they would put a connotation, build a lie around the fact that I went to Moscow. So they used the law to carry out a political objective, which is to crush the African liberation movement and to make an assault on free speech for everybody at a time when this country is going through such a crisis, where people around the world are trying to change their relationship to this country. And there are certain forces like Russia, like China, for example, that are contesting with the United States in terms of determining what the world will look like moving forward. So they would use the fact that I went to Moscow, and then they would try to put onto that fact a lie. It's untrue. They would use the law to carry out a political assault on me, the African People's Socialist Party, and everybody in this country. And if you will look at what's happening in this country, though some people are confused by a lot of it, political trials are happening across the board, across every political spectrum. The question of free speech, the question of the right to say things, that's under major assault. You see people going, just 2 days ago, I think it was Scott Ritter, they raided his house because they stopped him first a week or two ago when he was on his way to Moscow. They snatched him off an airplane, took his passport, and then they're charging him. You see people getting charged all around this country for disagreeing with what the United States says. So they can't say that you don't have the right to disagree. They can't say that. So they say that your disagreement is based on the fact that you are under the leadership of a foreign power that's trying to destabilize and somehow hurt the United States. So what we're saying is that we can prove that our position on Ukraine, yeah, we oppose Ukraine, what the United States is doing, killing Ukrainians and Russians in this assault on Russia that's been going on for more than 100 years. We can prove that. We got professors and other people who come to court and say, this is true, what I said. They say, but it doesn't matter. It's disinformation, not because it's a lie. It's disinformation because Russia has paid you to say that, and it hurts the reputation of something like that in the United States. So the fact is, it's a political trial. And the people coming right now, doing work in this community in St. Petersburg, Florida, the people coming to St. Petersburg, Florida, which is right across the bridge from Tampa, Florida, where the federal court is located, where the lynching is supposed to occur. What we are saying is that people coming, it's the political power of the people we believe is greater than the political power of the state. And because the state has to lie, it cannot tell the truth. The people can tell the truth. We want all the truth tellers in this country to be in St. Petersburg, Florida, and the people who believe in truth to come to St. Petersburg, Florida on August 31st, and we're going to have the truth out. And that's part of what it is. So the state has the law, and it has the police. And this is the only thing that makes sense to them is to have the ability to wake you up in the middle of the night, 5 o'clock in the morning with tanks. And then base the reason for their doing it on a lie. Even if they thought there was something in my house or in the Uhuru house that they needed as some kind of evidence, even if they thought that, why the hell they come with tanks? Did they think that we were an armed force? Did they think there was an 82-year-old guy waiting up with submachine guns and all this kind of stuff in the house? Did they think 82-year-old guy would come out and do some Rambo with them? What have you? No. It's to terrorize me, my movement, my people, and anybody who might disagree with what it is that they're saying. And so it's the law being on a political mission. And so we're on a political mission, always have been on a political mission. And we are asking everybody who believes in the right to criticize or to say what you want to say. And I don't give a damn what the position of Russia is in that regard. Russia might have a position. I was in Nicaragua, supported Nicaragua when the United States was attacking it. I was in Ireland when Ireland was under the domination of the British colonizers. And so because I'm in Ireland doesn't mean I'm working for the Irish. No, because I could see that the Irish had a politic of being oppressed by the same system. Anyway, that's what we're talking. So they say they're not attacking us because we said that about Ukraine, because we exposed that by Ukraine. They're not attacking us because we said the United States is committing genocide against Black people in this country. They're not attacking us because we had elections calling for the reparations for the first time in the history of this country. No. They said that's not what it's about at all. That the law is content neutral. It doesn't matter what the hell we said. It's the fact that the Russians paid us to say it. And of course, that's ridiculous on its face, because if it didn't matter what we said, then why would the indictment have so much to say that we said this and we said this and we said that? Anyway, Uhuru. So I hope, Sister Belinda, that was helpful. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, as you said, they will, I put in the chat, you reminded me what you said, they will use facts to tell lies, and that's a brilliant statement. Uhuru, Sister Vice Chair Lisa, I think we've exhausted our time, but I want to appreciate this opportunity to speak about the case and remind everybody to go to the Hands Off Uhuru website to register for the upcoming events.
Uhuru, and thank you so very, very much for that very powerful presentation. And Sister Mwezi, I just have to say this to you personally. It has been great getting to know you and to work with you and to work under your leadership. You are the chair of the Hands Off Uhuru Coalition, and you do so much more, and you've just been doing tremendous work. Everybody that's been working with the Hands Off Uhuru Coalition has been doing tremendous work. And I just want to remind people to please go to handsoffuhuru.org. They have an action section. They are also asking people under that action section to contact their legislators. That's stuff that we can be doing and should be doing. So please check that out. Make sure that you sign the petitions. You know, there's plenty of literature and things that you can look at. It is a tremendous resource. The Hands Off Uhuru, handsoffuhuru.org. That website is a tremendous resource, and everybody should be utilizing it. And next, we are going to have our panelist discussion. All of the panelists will have 15 minutes to present. The discussion is on the discussion is going to be on advancing the right to anti-colonial free speech, not one step backwards, forward, onward to September 3rd. Uhuru. And the first presenter on that panel is none other than our chairman, Omali Yeshitela. Uhuru.
Uhuru comments. There are other people on this panel who would probably have done us better to have presented first. But as again, I just want to say that this meeting, this coalition, is just practical evidence of who we are, what we say, and how these charges against us are extraordinarily ridiculous. And so the Black is Back Coalition is one of the best examples of our struggle for free speech, anti-colonial free speech. And I shared with you earlier the October 2009 presentation that was made to the people forming the coalition. And that was an assault. That is to say, what was said then clearly is stuff that we've been about since that time. And the Russians, the United States government claimed that the Russians are the reason for the politics and the stuff we were doing then. I want to share with you as my participation in this panel, simply the statement that was made. That was October 2009. This is January 2010. At the founding document for the Black is Back Coalition. It's relatively brief. And so I'd like to allow this to be the presentation, because it is the struggle for the anti-colonial free speech rights is what Black people have been about forever. Because we never had the right for speech. Emmett Till wouldn't be dead if that were the case. And all the people, Malcolm X wouldn't be dead. He did not get killed in a gun battle, neither did Martin Luther King and most of the people who they've assassinated and murdered. Or nor James Baldwin wouldn't have been put on trial. It's speaking. And that's been the basis for that. And so we organize everything that we've done is really for the right to complain about our conditions in this country. That's what we've done. And so the Black Coalition, after they destroyed our movement through murder, mass incarceration, targeted incarceration, we, the African People's Socialist Party, worked to pull this movement back together to pursue the aims that we were in pursuit of when they killed Malcolm, when they killed King. And there's so much that could be said more about that. I want to say this one thing about it, because this whole issue of it's Joe Biden's organization that kicked off these charges against us, but every president since the inception of this country has had a role in our oppression and exploitation. So Biden is not necessarily the problem. But the fact is that I was an organizer, and none of this stuff is supposed to go to court, because none of this stuff matters. None of the way they set it up, they deny free speech for the court process proceedings in order to charge us and to violate the right to free speech through the court system itself. But I was a participant in the struggle for civil rights. I was there. Biden was an opponent of civil rights. He actually, as a senator, opposed passage of the Civil Rights Bill. I worked for the right for African people to participate in elections in this country. I was in Madison, Georgia, where they tried to kill me for doing that. I was in Alachua County, Florida, where I was organizing, and they wanted to throw me in jail when I took something like 6 Africans to register to vote, etc. So I've always been involved in this struggle. And in 1965, as you know, the US government, as a consequence of international pressure that was exposing what the United States government was doing to Black people who were putting pressure domestically, saying, we want to be able to register to vote, children facing high-powered water hoses, Black people being used, electric cattle prods being used on them, and a church bombing that killed 3 babies in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963. I was one of the people who fought for that. And so you had the passage through this pressure from below, inside our communities, inside this country, by Black people. And then from the international situation, because the United States had to handle the fact that the world was looking at what it was based on how it was treating Black people. That's how the world was measuring the United States. That's where you get this whole thing about somehow bringing the United States into disrepute. People can see what the United States is doing to Black people. So they said, okay, now you can vote. That was in 1965. Other significant events. Malcolm X was killed in 1965. Then you had Martin Luther King killed in 1968. Then you had this major assault on the Black Panther Party, which by 1968 had seen something like 30 members assassinated. And then in 1969, Fred Hampton dies, is murdered by the United States government. So you had all these attacks on Black people, and they say, now you can vote. But you ain't got nothing to vote for except what? The Democratic Party. They destroyed our independent organizational capacity, our organizers, dispersed people from around the world who they didn't kill and who they didn't jail. And so now you got the right to vote. And so you can vote for Biden. You can vote for the Democratic Party. But you ain't got nothing else that you can vote for. And this has been their problem. But I want to go and move forward. The Black is Back Coalition, this is from January, what was it, 2010. The Black is Back, I built the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice. This is the position that was adopted at the founding conference similar to this conference, held in this building right here. The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations is an organization composed of otherwise independent groups and institutions that fit within the general anti-imperialist self-determinist tendency of the African community. While the immediate cause of our organizing has been the escalation of the US wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, we are representative of a people whose introduction to the United States and to imperialism in general has been our own experiences as victims through the attack on our African motherland and the subsequent enslavement and colonization from which we still suffer today. It has been our own historical experiences as victims of imperialism that helped to inform our views of imperialist aggression by the United States and others against the peoples of the Middle East, including Palestine, the Persian Gulf. It has been our own experiences that help us to recognize imperialist aggression by the United States and others against the people of South America, especially Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and the growing anti-imperialist bloc. These experiences have also made us opponents of US and other imperialist involvement in Africa and the African world at large, especially the economic quarantine of Zimbabwe, the proxy wars in Congo, Ivory Coast, and other places, and the imposition of AFRICOM as a means to guarantee the never-ending profit-taking immiseration of African people. We recognize the current imperialist involvement in Africa and the African world as continuation of the initial assault on Africa. In addition, the colonization of the African continent that transformed Africa into a source of stolen labor and resources resulted in the export of African misery and colonization to the far reaches of the earth that include North and South America and the Caribbean, where Haiti continues to be a glaring example of the consequences of this relationship. In fact, the current expression of capitalist exploitation and oppression, known as imperialism by some, is but the development of capitalism and the relations of exploitation that were born of the first accumulation of capital stemming from our enslavement and the colonization and the accompanying rape of Asia and what is now known as the Americas. This is why the Black is Back Coalition is uniquely positioned to assume a leadership in the role in the struggle against the current expressions of US imperialist aggression being directed against the struggling peoples of Afghanistan and Iraq. This is why we stand in solidarity with the Mexican people, the indigenous people of the United States, the people of Cuba and Venezuela, etc. It is because we recognize their struggles like our own are simply efforts to reverse the verdict of imperialism that requires the vast majority of the world's population to live in perpetual misery and poverty for its success. It is because we know that the prisons of the United States are filled with the masses of our people, because US imperialism recognizes us as an internal colony. And since the formal emancipation of our people has maintained a public policy of police containment, most often with the democratic consent of the general white population. This is why the brave men and women who organized themselves and boldly struck out to win our happiness and the return of our stolen resources have all been victims of character assassination, forced exile, and murder. This is why scores of such men and women are now rotting in prisons, or living furtive existences as hunted prey, even as the United States queens on the world stage, pretending social equality, having hidden its historically recognized white power behind a black face in the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama. Unemployment and an imposed drug economy, the ongoing theft of value through home foreclosures and other means reveal the use of our people as a reserve labor force, as well as a reserve source of capital accumulation. The police murder of our young men and the denial of any meaningful health care. All of these factors contribute to our ability to characterize our status in the US as subjects rather than citizens. While many may have been moved to protest US foreign policy and domestic policy agendas for a variety of reasons, the Black is Back Coalition is motivated by a genuine hatred of imperialism that is responsible for most of the misery being experienced by the majority of the people within the US and around the world. We protest the wars and injustices directed at the peoples of the world by US imperialism, but more important, our existence represents the re-entry of our people into public life as an organized, conscious act of anti-imperialist resistance that has its basis in circumstances similar to those that have motivated the people of Palestine, Iraq, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. Our coalition is uniquely positioned and has a special responsibility to provide leadership in the resistance against US foreign and domestic policy. The fact that that Obama represents the latest, most desperate ploy of imperialism by allowing the oppressor to present himself in the guise of the oppressed would have confused and paralyzed many opponents of imperialism if not for our intervention. We have simply called for peace. We have not simply called for peace as much of the US anti-war opposition has done. More importantly, we have been able to express solidarity with those who resist US imperialism, to victims of imperialism. Our list of demands do not assume that peace and social justice can be conferred on the world by simply demanding the resources going to make imperialist war be diverted to so-called domestic use. We are opposed to imperialism itself. Our existence as a coalition marks the initiation of a united resistance to imperialism, a resistance that advances the interests of oppressed and exploited African people within the US and abroad. Ours is a resistance for bread, peace, and Black power. Obviously, the demand for bread calls for self-serving employment that contributes to the development of our community and a return of all the recently stolen resources due to our people from US actions that accompanied and followed the catastrophe of Katrina and other Gulf region weather systems. We want restitutions and repair for the subprime mortgage fraud that resulted in the greatest theft of African wealth since slavery. But the demand for bread also means reparations for all the stolen wealth that has accumulated to the coffers of US imperialists from slavery up to now. Nor should the demand for peace be interpreted as an imperialist peace, the type of peace that the slave master can appreciate as long as slaves are not resisting and the social system goes unchallenged. When we say peace, we mean the peace that accompanies social justice, a peace that can only come through fierce, uncompromising resistance designed to overturn the relationship between the oppressed and the oppressor. We want Black power, self-determination, and while we may have differences among ourselves within the coalition about what that self-determination should look like, we do all agree that the fate and future of our people should not be determined independent of the will of our people whose conditions of existence owe themselves primarily to the fact that this critical democratic requirement has been forcibly appropriated by our oppressors. We are approaching the consolidation of our coalition conscious of the historical basis for our unity, but also aware that there are some political and ideological differences among us. Some of us are self-declared revolutionists, while others do not harbor a criticism of imperialism of the US that would lead to a revolutionary conclusion. Moreover, there may be differences among us concerning the nature and objective of revolution, even when we agree that revolution must be on the agenda. For some of us, religion has been a major incentive to become organized as part of resistance against war and injustice. We are Black nationalists, Pan-Africanists, communists, social democrats, African internationalists, and just plain fed up Black folk who recognize that united action among our people is a must. This is the diverse character that gives our coalition its strength. For such diversity is representative of the character of our community and offers us the opportunity to build a real, genuine social movement such as those that existed in the US in the 1950s and 60s. For this reason, we recognize that the Black is Black coalition must be one that respects the ideological and political differences among us, even as we participate in the most serious discussions to advance our cause. While we do not require any group participating in the coalition to abandon its belief system as a condition for participation, we do require all its member organizations to advance the agreed upon principles, goals, and actions of the coalition without relinquishing their right to independent action, ideological, and political expression inside the coalition itself. And so the last thing here is that the principles of unity that unite our coalition and facilitate our ability to organize our rally and march prove themselves in practice and should be maintained as the foundation for any further discussion at our coalition, at our conference. This is all true of the revolutionary national democratic demands around which the coalition was initially organized. These principles and demands fundamental to our unity. These fundamental to our unity, but they are also principles and demands that confront imperialism. They indicate the initiation of a new social movement, a new period of resistance from a historically oppressed and exploited people. They state for the people and the world that despite the recent bloody past that has resulted in the imprisonment and assassination of our leaders and destruction of our freedom-seeking organizations, despite the establishment of a Black U.S. president that has proclaimed a post-racial U.S., Black is back, and the struggle for bread, peace, and Black power is on. So that's my contribution to this panel discussion.
Uhuru, Brother Chairman, very, very powerful. Our next presenter gives me the honor to introduce somebody that I share the same last name with. We are probably definitely related by blood as well as spirit. But this next presenter is Sister Betty Davis. She is a former adjunct professor at Medgar Evers College and co-founder of the New Abolitionist Movement and a longtime activist for community control of education since the New York City school strike in 1967. She is also the chair of the Black Community Control of Education Working Group for the Black is Back Coalition. Sister Betty Davis, Uhuru.
Uhuru, Sister Lisa, I thank you so much. I definitely want to thank the chairman. He's helped me cut my presentation by about 2 minutes because of his definition of our principles of unity within the Black is Back Coalition. Fight colonialism, fight neo-colonialism, fight Zionism, fight military occupation, stop the undeclared war on people of African people, respect and resolve our differences through a democratic process, none of which has happened to the Uhuru 3, and self-determination for Africans and worldwide oppressed peoples, none of which is happening with the Uhuru 3. And I want to say also, I want to salute this audience for being a part of this discussion today, because we are here to support those who have the right to be self-expressed. And it is my honor to introduce my co-panelist today, Jeremy Eugene, because when we don't stand up for one, we end up allowing them to attack all of us. 2 years ago, when they tried to destroy Chairman Omali Yeshitela and his organization and his family and his community, we didn't say much then. And so now they're coming after us now. And this issue of free speech, miseducation equals the new slavery. As a member of the Education Working Group, we stand against principles that do not stop colonialism in our communities. And when we're talking about colonialism within the education system, we're talking about the right to control the school district's budget proposals. We are talking about the right to attend and ask questions at presentations of the school district or the Central Board of Education in any community that we are a part of. But the principles of a colonial system denies you the right to advocate for your children, denies you the right to have community control in your city. And because we do not have the right and we have not exercised our right to struggle for community control of education, the whole system of the lack of free speech is now entered into our classrooms. We have educators who are not allowed to teach and speak the truth to our children. And when they stand up to fight against this, they in turn are arrested. And so what I would like to do is to introduce a comrade who has been on the front lines. And you should know that because miseducation equals the new slavery, if you don't have the right to free speech outside of the classroom, you will lose your right to free speech and to teach freedom inside the classroom. And so I would like to introduce our comrade and a good struggler and a fighter to discuss his situation to you today. And what you should know is he has formed an organization, and I love the name of that organization. He will tell you more about it, but it starts off with the words that I like: community voices for public education. We don't have the right to community voices to public education in Texas. We don't have the right to community voices to public education in New York. The mayor has that right. The mayor controls our education system in New York. And in most of our largest Black colonies in the United States, we don't have community control of education. We have mayoral control, which many of you know are Democratic Party controls. And I just want to address one more point. When the chairman is talking about his struggles in the 60s to bring about an end to colonialism and the horrific vestiges of the war against us started by slavery, you should remember that Fannie Lou Hamer was accused of being a tool for the communists. And all she wanted was the right to vote. And so with deep honor, I would like to introduce the next generation of new warriors, Brother Jeremy Eugene. Would you please talk to us about your struggles and some of the successes you have had? Thank you. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Yes, thank you so much, Sister Davis. My name is Jeremy Eugene. I live in Houston, Texas. I am teaching in a district just outside of Houston, Texas, and Houston ISD, which is the district that is currently
Excuse me, brother, but you're
teaching in, but that I actually involved in.
Your sound was going out a little bit, but you seem to be okay now, but it was really we were getting a lot of static, but you seem to be okay now. Sorry for interrupting, Uhuru.
Okay, yeah, double checking again. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, it sounds good now.
Okay, thank you. So yes, once again, my name is Jeremy Eugene. I live just outside of Houston ISD, and my organization, Community Voices for Public Education, has been working with Houston ISD teachers, students, community members to try to stop and as quickly as possible rectify and account for the damages of the takeover of the state. And I wanted to bring up 3 ways that this relates to the dismantling of free speech when a school district gets taken over in the state. And the first one is that when you hear talk about state test scores, and this can be in Houston specifically, but also in any school district that you are currently in, if you hear that a school district is bad because of state test scores, if you hear that it needs to be taken over because of state test scores, that is a free speech issue. Because what happens when a school is concentrated on, and there are policies that are put in place in order to increase state test scores, is that the focus is on just a small subset of subjects, the subjects that are getting tested. Those are the English, the math, the science, and the social studies courses, whereas everything else does not get any focus. And it's not even all of the history courses. And so while you have experienced teachers who may be very good at going through a textbook and saying, this is what matters as far as the English courses, and we're going to develop student voices. If English is not a subject that's getting tested that year, then the school doesn't give focus to it. The district doesn't give attention to it. And what this results in is that the measures that are put in place are just used to increase the state test scores. And there are many ways to game the system. There are many ways that the quality of education that you're receiving, once you have this influx of pressures put upon the teachers and the administrators in order to raise state test scores decreases the amount of education that you're receiving in many other ways. And I want to bring to attention that Sister Mwezi had mentioned Mike Brown, and Mike Brown went to a public school in Ferguson, Missouri, right? And what Sister Mwezi said was that Mike Brown could have been the next great political or activist leader in the United States. And that is the situation for many different children. But in order for us to cultivate that in our kids, we have to be put in situations where we're not just focusing on a test, where we're focusing on the proper education of the entire, the whole child, as we say in education circles. And so when you hear that the state tests are not where they need to be, and that somebody is going to come in order to impose different statutes and different new policies so that they can increase the state test scores, that's a free speech issue. And to give you a couple of examples of what has happened in Houston as a result of this intense focus on state test scores, students have lost special education services. All activities have had to stop every 4 minutes in order for the teacher to give a small quiz to the class. There's a 10-minute test that's taken every day at the end of several classes. Teachers don't have control over the curriculums. They have to have scripted curriculums, and administrators walk into the room to constantly check on teachers and make sure that they are following those scripted curriculums. And so this is a very severe dismantling of what teachers are allowed to do in the classroom. And I want to bring up a second thing that you need to watch out for. When you hear that there is a decrease of funding that's coming towards a school, and it can be said that the decrease is happening for many different reasons, but those are all going to end up being free speech issues, because the things that a school decides to cut back on, if there's a decrease in funding for many reasons, often the things that they're going to be cutting back on are things that that directly relate to the amount of free speech that both the teachers and the students are allowed to see in the classrooms. And one of the big ones that has been a very big focus here in Houston is libraries. When the state takeover had first happened, in the new education system schools, which account for a little under a third of the total schools in the district, they were cut off from their libraries, many of which had built robust libraries. Over the course of many, many years, there was a focus put on building up those library programs. The librarians were removed from almost all of those campuses. And the books that were in those libraries, many of them were cleared out. Many of them were thrown out. Many of them were simply donated. But for some of them, the books remain in the library space itself, but it no longer functions as a library. And so you hear the new superintendent that the state appointed saying, oh, well, kids still have access to books. They can use them whenever. If they don't have a librarian, if they don't have a skilled professional that's there to help them find the correct books, we're not going to have situations where, the next Mike Brown can be cultivated in our school system if they don't know how to take their focus, take their energy, take their passion, and put it towards the sorts of texts that are going to help to take them to the next level, which is what the possibility of our schools can be and what they should be for. We're seeing that being removed in Houston, and this is expanding. This, unfortunately, there are 19 new schools that have had this new education systems imposed upon them over the course of this next school year, because we're going into our second year of this takeover happening. And so I wanted to bring that up as the second thing that people should watch out for when you hear that your school is getting a decrease in funding, when you hear that your district is needs to tighten its belt, that we need to get rid of funding. Know that that's a free speech issue. Know that they are going to be cutting things off from your kids that are going to ultimately impact a lot of the way that they are able to find and express their voices throughout the course of the school year. And the last one that I wanted to bring up, thank you for the time check. before I open this up a little bit and respond to people in the chat, is that loss of certification for teachers is a free speech issue. And this can come in many different forms. It can be directly that they're making exceptions to whether a teacher needs to be certified or not in order to enter a classroom. It can be through the use of technically not teachers, which is what we have here in Houston. Instead of saying that that we are getting rid of our teachers, we're going to have a dyad teacher is what they will say. They'll have teachers assistants. Oh, that they're only backup teachers. But what ends up happening is that you have those backup teachers that don't need to be certified. You push out the certified teachers, and then suddenly the backup teachers are in front of kids having, a week, a month of actual training, actual practice before they're suddenly leading their entire classroom. And the reason that this is a free speech issue is because I am, I'm in my 6th year of teaching. I'm not the teacher that I was, I'm not the teacher that I was when I started in my 1st year, right? It took a lot of training for me to get certified, and then a lot of experience for me to be able to communicate the things that both the state wants and that I know are important for the overall education of the child. And if you have teachers that are in the classroom that are not certified, that are not aware of the levels and depths of the requirements that are required for each particular subject issue, as well as special populations such as the dual language teachers, the special education teachers, if those types of people who don't have that experience are now the ones that are being put into the classroom, the amount of things that they are aware that they should even be saying to students is going to be greatly reduced. And thus, it's not only important that they have the ability to speak, but that they know what they're talking about when they speak. And if they don't, then that's a very strong and a very important free speech issue. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to thank you again for joining us, Brother Jeremy. We're on a tight schedule. What I want to remind everybody, the public school system in America was started by the freed the Africans who freed themselves. And they didn't have a certification system, but they knew that education and slavery are incompatible. And this is why the issue of free speech in the classrooms is very, very similar to what Chairman Yeshitela is experiencing right now. He speaks truth to power, and a teacher who educates children to be African is speaking truth to power. Thank you, Brother Eugene, and thank you, Uhuru 3, for allowing us to join your discussion this morning. Uhuru, touch one, touch all.
I want to say thank you so very much for that powerful presentation. And to the brother, Jeremy, I was listening so intently. I can't believe you said you've only been teaching for 6 years. And I always hate to call time on people because what you're saying is so engrossing and so important for us to hear, and greatly appreciate it. Our next presenter is Sister Belinda Parker Brown. Are you ready, my dear sister? Mrs. Parker Brown, she is President and Chief Executive Officer of Louisiana United International. The LUI is a bipartisan social justice organization whose mission is to champion the protection of human rights, including the civil, constitutional, and societal rights that are all too commonly trampled on in today's world. The LUI speaks for the person or group that cannot speak for themselves and has a proven track record all across the state of Louisiana. Belinda Parker Brown, she has co-hosted a talk show called A Force for Justice and is a nationally recognized advocate. Sister Belinda Parker Brown, Uhuru.
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 I have Uhuru, comrade, Sister Lisa. I'm really enjoying everyone here today, but Uhuru, like the chairman said earlier, that they come along and they steal, but really they just take our words and take and just make it take and claim like it's them. But Uhuru means freedom, you know, and if you notice that they're slanging that around, but you know, really, we want our people to know that Uhuru is freedom. And we're saying on this whole you know, webinar today that, you know, this is serious. It's really, really serious about the attack that's on our freedom of speech. And I just want to, you know, say what has happened to me in regards to how serious this really is. I'm a court watcher. You know, we're a civil constitutional human rights organization, but we have a lot of services and resources that we offer. And one of the big things that we focus on is court watching, because what they intend to do is get us in these courtrooms all by ourselves. And they just do whatever they want to do. They take and you know, make up all types of lies with concocted, fabricated information. But what it is that it's a law that's called the Giglio, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it's Giglio. And what it is that it's when a police officer can just literally lie on you, tell a bald-faced lie. So what happened to me is, you know, I was in the courtroom, court watching, and what they do here in Louisiana is that they threaten and badger and force people to take pleas to things that they did not do. And this young lady, a teenager, that was so afraid that by her public defender, that she was being told, take the plea, just go ahead on and take the plea and get it over with. And she was basically so frantic and disturbed by the fact that she did not do what they had said she did. So I basically admonished a young lady to say that if you don't want to take a plea, you don't have to. You have a right to go to trial and, you know, face your accusers. So at this time, the public defender, he steps up and he was like, oh, you know, I almost had the plea. I almost had it until you know, you interfered with me representing my client. Now, mind me and her mom both were standing there. And, you know, the mother was saying the same exact thing I was telling her. But because I'm Belinda Parker Brown, you know, a known court watcher, and he goes back and he tells the judge that if it had not been for me interfering or telling his client not to take the plea, which I never told her not to take the plea. I told her that she had a right to go to trial and she don't have to take a plea if she didn't do what they say she did. So the judge calls me into his courtroom and identify me and tell me that I was being charged with a charge that I didn't have a clue what it was about, but they charged me with constructed contempt, something that I never heard of. So they took something and my freedom of speech, that I had a right to tell that young lady the truth. And they took it and put a charge on me and was threatened to put me in jail and give me 6 months and $1,000 fine and ban me from the courtroom for life. Now, mind me, this did not even happen inside the courtroom. It happened outside the courtroom. But they took it and used it however they felt like whatever they felt like they wanted to do. But it was my freedom of speech that was under attack, just like what's happening to the Uhuru 3. And I'm telling you, people, it's Okay, I don't know if you all are familiar with the Crow and Tail Pro. They is knocking at your door, my door, everybody's door and what it's all about is that if you're not saying what they want you to say when you want them, when they want you to say it, they're coming for us. They are coming for us. Crow and Tail Pro is knocking at your door. So you either gonna stand up and speak now, or you going to forever hold your peace and zip your lips, because we won't be allowed to say anything if we let them come after the Uhuru 3. That's what this is all about. Attack on our freedom of speech to stop us from saying what's right, which is the truth that people really need to know. So what I'm saying right now is that this webinar is telling us, don't be shocked, people, when they come for you. Don't be surprised. If you're sitting back, you're just, thinking that this is just a conversation. This is not a conversation. This is a movement that we're in and a fight for our freedom of speech, what rightfully belongs to us. And I also want to let you know that, if you are a part of an organization that's out there, a grassroots organization that have been standing for justice, for peace, for reparations, for, economic power, to unite and bring your community together, to bring Black people together, to do things on, a larger scale, like, business, crowdfunding, a lot of things that we need to do to help ourselves, to help liberate ourselves. If you're out there and you're doing these things, you are a target. They're coming for you. So what we're asking that you do is join up with the Black is Back Coalition. They can't, I'm gonna tell you, there is power in unity. You cannot do this all by yourself. So we're asking you to join up and become a part of the Black is Back Coalition. Right now, we're moving and we're shaking across the whole United States of America, uniting and coming together, even on other continents. And you have heard the chairman speak about, how powerful what we're doing here in America with the reason why that they don't want us to have Black power. They don't want us to have no kind of, economic justice. They don't want us to have that. They never intended for us to have it. But this is our time now. And we're saying if we don't stand up for the Uhuru 3 and what they're trying to do with them and what they have done to our forefathers and civil rights leaders in the past when they stepped out to help us with this, they murdered them. They assassinated them. Okay? So what we're saying is that we're not going to tolerate that anymore. We're going to unite and come together, and we're going to take what's rightfully ours. And that is our liberation, our freedom. So join up with the Black is Back Coalition. I encourage you to get as much information that you possibly can about the Black is Back Coalition so that you can be a part of this great, mighty movement that's saying this is our time and nothing is going to stop us. So on that note, Sister Lisa, I would like to thank you and appreciate everyone for giving me this opportunity to share my story and how serious and how important it is for us to come out and support the Uhuru 3 and be a part of the Black is Back Coalition. Thank you.
Uhuru, Thank you so very much. And just know, Sister Belinda Parker Brown, that as you were relaying that, I'm thinking about my own case that's coming up on August 16th, next Friday, over BS, absolute BS, which I will talk a little bit more about later on when I do a presentation on the political action working group. But yes, the way that we counter all of this, we come together and get involved with organizations such as the Black is Back Coalition. Our next presenter is Brother Life Malcolm, who I know is in the room in St. Petersburg. Brother Life Malcolm is the director of the Black People's Advancement and Defense Organization. He's a member of the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations Steering Committee, and a member of its Healthcare Working Group, and he's also a member of the Urban Progress Alliance. Life has been a community organizer in the Tampa Bay area where he currently resides for nearly 30 years. He is also part of the legal team at Arcelia Law Firm. I hope I pronounced your law firm correctly. And the firm is currently representing Kevin DeSeer's family. And I know that he's also been supporting the Uhuru 3. Brother Life Malcolm, Uhuru.
I just want to, first of all, give honor to the fight for freedom and justice, which is first and foremost in my life. And I want to definitely salute my leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella, as well as you, Sister Chairwoman Lisa Davis. This is an incredible opportunity to stand here and be able to discuss this important subject of freedom of speech, along with comrades like Chairman Amalia Shatella, Sister Belinda Parker Brown, and Sister Betty Davis, and I believe Brother Zaki Barudi is also on the panel. So I'm really, really honored to have the opportunity to share a few minutes about this discussion. I just want to say, when I walked in, Chairman was at the mic speaking, and he brought up something about medication, and you know how the medication will mess you up. And you know, there's been this thing, you know, everybody's talking about the election and whatnot, and you know, Joseph Robinette Biden stepping down because he's old and can't handle it. And I don't know if y'all know, but my chairman is older than Joseph Robinette Biden. And so when chairman say you might not want to take that stuff, you might want to listen to him. You know, the proof of the pudding. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. You know what I mean? And so chairman looking strong, don't look like he gonna forget what to say in a debate. And so I just say that because what chairman has to say is quite important and has been for decades. And that's one of the things that has come under attack. That's what we saw with the FBI raid in 2022, and that's what we see with the United States government bringing this trial in on September 3rd. There's this idea in the theme that we have to advance this right to free speech. I remember once about a decade ago, Chairman, you might remember. I know you do. You didn't take that medicine, right? So I was sitting in a classroom, and this professor said something, talking some social justice stuff, and at the time, I considered myself to be pretty politically mature, and I asked this. I made this statement. I said that African people have this right to live and this right to be free, and this North American professor, kind of outwitted me in a moment and said, well, where does that right come from? And like, does it come from God? And it stumped me. And so I did what any smart African internationalist would do. If they can, I called the chairman. As soon as I left the classroom, hey, chairman, you remember this, chairman? Yeah. I said, hey, where does the right come from? Chairman say, well, just like the colonizer, you confer the right on yourself. It comes from yourself. You have that responsibility to confer that right to be free, that right to live, and in this case, the right to speak freely for yourself is our responsibility. And so, since then, it's been not one step backwards. I've kept that, and that's been a guiding philosophy for me. And incorporated with that is Chairman Mao's quote, at least a quote attributed to him, that if there's no investigation, there's no right to speak. And nobody with any inkling of what's been going on in the United States and the rest of the world can refute in any meaningful way that the African People's Socialist Party has done the investigation. Chairman Amali Yeshitela, has done the investigation that gives us the right to speak as African people, as African internationalists, as members of the African People's Socialist Party, as members of the African People's Solidarity Committee, as members of the Uhuru movement, as members of the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. We have the right to speak because we've done the investigation. Yeah, and this is an investigation that's based on science and theory. You understand what I mean? It's not just some stuff that we make up. Sometimes, you hear people talk a lot, and if you ask them about why they have this philosophy or have this opinion, they might base it on ignorance. They might base it on some impossibility of our own, like, oh, since you can't do it, then it must be this kind of way. But not this philosophy that Chairman for over a half a century has presented to the world in a very, very clear fashion. I mean, you have to be some kind of spectacular fool not to be able to follow the clear line that colonialism got us here, and the only way we're gonna get out of it is to get rid of colonialism. I say that in the, So throughout the world, Chairman has made it clear that it's not just enough to explain the world. We have to change it. And that's what the FBI is afraid of. That's what the United States government is afraid of. When they hear Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Chairwoman Penny Hess and Jesse Neville speak, they're not afraid of the explanation. They are afraid of the very practical and present reality that we are changing the world. When we step out, every time we step out as the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, backed by this philosophy of African internationalism that explains why Black people all around, not just in the United States, but all around the world experience the same contradictions. That we also tell everybody listening how to change the world. And that's an incredible problem for them. And so I just want to say, it's our responsibility to advance this freedom of speech. It's also, what goes hand in hand with that is our responsibility to defend it. We have to defend the right to speak. And how do we do that? We do it by asserting that right to free speech. Chairman, you know what I'm talking about. When you tore down the mural, that was asserting the right to free speech. Many years in the 1990s, when I think the quote is something like you said, imperialism is the enemy, white power, is the enemy. And we have to overturn that. That was you asserting free speech. And it had a wide influence through the hip hop generation. I mean, people to this day, 30 years later, still bumping this song. I know that it's Wolves on the CD, but you call it Licking the Blade. That's asserting the free speech. Every time Chairwoman Penny Hess stands up in front of a crowd of North Americans and white people all around the world and demands reparations, go in your pockets and give back what you owe, that's asserting free speech. And when Jesse Neville does the same thing, that is asserting free speech. And that's how we defend this very important right that we have. And so we have to accept that responsibility. And part of accepting that responsibility is showing up on August 31st. Showing up in the meantime, showing up to all the Sunday rallies that we have. In the meantime, here at the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg, Florida, because the reality is they're not just and showing up to the trial for sure. Pack the courthouse, pack the courthouse, and it's important that you do so because this is not just the defense of Jesse Neville's free speech or Penny Hess's free speech or the chairman's free speech. I tell you this, chairman gonna say what he want to say. Chairman Omali Yeshitela gonna say what he want to say. His lawyers can't even stop him from saying what he want to say. So it's not just about him, his speech, it's about you and your ability to say what it is you need to say because you have the right to say so. And I guess in closing, this is Black August, this as much as it's Freedom Summer, we've known it as Black August. And there's some very important things that happen in Black August. One of them happened at a courthouse. And so one of the things that I want to say is, in the spirit of Henry Highland Garnett, comrades, sisters and brothers, let your motto be resistance. Keep it on the tip of your tongue. I mean, like, it's already been said that colonizers have done awful things to us just to stop us from talking, even using our own language. I remember Chairman O'Malley used to tell me, sitting right here in this room, I heard him present a speech that informed me that, I think it was in Occupied Azania, there was this thing where when African students sat in a classroom run by colonizers, they had to speak the colonizers' language, and if we spoke our own language, they would put a rotting goat's head around our neck. You remember that, Chairman? Yeah, they would put the rotting goat's head around the child's neck, and in order to get it off, you had to tell on somebody else. And then they put the goat head, somebody else who used the language of the African, then they put the goat head on. So for years, I mean, of course, the Emmett Till thing, and they even made movies about it. I think it's like Mudbound, Mudbone, something. They cut the African's tongue out just for talking, just for standing up. And so for years, there's been this attack on free speech, in the face of all of that violence, all of that colonial violence every day. This organization, this chairman, this chairwoman, this tremendous soldier who is Jesse Neville, have all stood up in the face of that colonial violence to say that we have earned the right through investigation to speak freely. Wow. And I want to say this too, DJ cut the music. I want to say this, that this idea of the law, Chairman, you brought that up in your presentation, the law. They're using the law, right, to attack us in this political struggle. And a lot of people might miss how significant that that point is, because like the law will trick you. They'll tell you that you can do something, and then find a way to tell you that if they don't like it, then you can't do it no more. It's clear that based on what I've learned under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Omali Yeshitaka, that the law is simply the opinion of the ruling class. And crime is anything that challenges military might, political power, and economic power in the hands of the ruling class. So, like, for example, you will hear all the time, most everybody knows that, Chairman, you use the 3 strikes example a lot. How they say, there's no double jeopardy, but then if you do 3 strikes, then they come back and get you for the thing again. But like a lot of people have heard that hearsay is not admissible in court, right? Hearsay is inadmissible in court. Everybody has that general understanding. The reality is, though, at least last time I checked, it may be more now, there was at least 33 exceptions to the hearsay rule. So yeah, they don't like, they are right with the hearsay, then you can get it in 33 ways. You know what I mean? You understand? And same thing with this free speech. They say you have the First Amendment right to free speech, but they'll use the law. They'll find a way to say, just because our opinion is adverse to your opinion, then now you on trial come September 3rd. Don't let them do it. Like I said, let your motto be resistance. And I brought up this thing that happened at the courthouse. I'm not saying that we need to show up quite like Jonathan Jackson did, but when we show up, we need to show up with that spirit and say, gentlemen, we're taking over from here.
Uhuru, and thank you so very much for that powerful presentation, Brother Life, as well. Very, very powerful. I'm going to be looking up Henry Highland Garnett. Our next presenter is our revolutionary brother, Zaki Barudi, Uhuru. And the people whose bios that we read yesterday, just so people will know, they won't be read today, but brother Zaki Barudi, Uhuru.
Uhuru. First and foremost, let me give everybody the greetings of Assalamu Alaikum, Black Power, power to the people. And it is just indeed my humble opportunity to be on the platform with some real soldiers advancing the rights of our people, and that in our lifetime we will be victorious. The thing, advancing the right to anti-colonial free speech, not one step backward, forward, is a very powerful statement in light of the fact of what I will characterize and a statement made by Uncle Tom Negro, Clarence Thomas, is an effort at legal lynching of the Uhuru movement. And historically, I was reflecting, it's similar to that historic case called the Dred Scott case in 1854, where they said that the eventual outcome of the case, that no rights of Black people was to be respected for by white people. So the attack on the Uhuru movement is really a simple terroristic attack on all our rights to free speech. And it is incumbent upon everyone who know that this attack is an evil, I call it an evil plot to decapitate the head of a most powerful movement, the African People's Socialist Party. And to that end, on a historical level, as we have previously mentioned, there have been other soldiers of our movement, just because of their speech, that had been attacked by this system. So I want to quote, in terms of the fight back that must take place, from one of our soldiers who also came under attack for free speech, and that's the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who stated, "Look for me in the whirlwind or the storm. Look for me around you, for with God's grace, I shall come and bring with me countless millions of Black slaves who have died in America and the West Indies, and the millions in Africa, to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life." And it is with that spirit that I humbly say to all who are listening, that we have to be that whirlwind. We have to get the masses of our people first to fight back against the charges against the Uhuru 3 and complete our historical task of transforming this capitalistic, imperialistic system, which I call evil. So within that context, that we have to also understand that the word of what's happening to the Uhuru 3 not being projected by the media is a concerted effort, as they always do, because they are an extension of this whole system that tries to suppress us, to not allow our people to be informed properly about what's happening. So that's a systematic shutdown by the major media of this historic case that's going to be taking place on September the 3rd. So we don't have to break through that. Also, there was a statement, I think, made by the chairman that I'm speaking on in my emotions or my thoughts as far as some of the prior speakers. To be free. That was a powerful song by Nina Simone. If we just sit back and allow them to do and carry out their attack against the Uhuru 3, then that would be a setback, in my humble opinion, to our desire to be free. So bottom line is, as we fight back, we have to organize at the highest level that we possibly can. And referring back to the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's statement, it is our historical duty among all the organizations as part of the coalition that we have to build a force, like an army force of like-minded people who want to see a new day for our race. So it's in that spirit that our organization will be on hand in Tampa, and we'll be encouraging as many people as we possibly can to be there. And also the fact that it is just our simple duty to do the right thing, and that is to defend the right to free speech. But let me also delve one thing too on a personal note, and in terms of attack on free speech, because we all have our various stories. I'm a former educator that was in East St. Louis, Illinois, and I worked in a predominantly all-Black high school, all Black, but with a 20% white staff. And at the head of the school was what I call a bootlicking Negro principal, who had the audacity during Black History Month as the social studies chairperson that we had put up bulletin boards celebrating our illustrious history, worldwide history. And right in front of the office, we had one bulletin board with the thing, as Marcus Garvey would say, a people without knowledge of their past would be a people without foundation. I mean, something to that effect. And had a collage of pictures of Black freedom fighters, countries of Africa, etc. This Negro principal ordered me to take it down. This is during Black History Month, which I refused. But on down the line, because some of his other kind of crazy actions at the school, I wrote a public letter, which I distributed to the teachers, the students. But of course, the next day I was removed from the high school because of the letter that I had submitted, where I challenged some of his positions of harming our children. That's a case of free speech under attack. So we have to be prepared for the attacks that comes our way simply because we speak in truth to power. And also, and I stated that because of the response of the young brother who Sister Betty Davis had on, and my encouragement, young man, is stand on the principles of truth, justice, and equality. So with that said, I'm just going to shorten my presentation and just again say we stand firmly with Brother Omali Yesateli and the other victims of this terroristic government that want to shut down freedom of speech. But also one last thing, that freedom of speech is also under attack through the banning of books. And there's been over 4,000 books that have been banned from libraries as well as different schools. And I wonder the banning of those books would include, and they probably would, 100 years of lynching, the miseducation of the Negro, on and on. So that's another form of the highest expression of fascism that's taking place here in this country. And again, it is our duty to fight back and be victorious. Thank you.
Uhuru, thank you so very much, Brother Zaki Barudi. And this has really been a very, very informative panel. It even has me looking at things in a different way that I didn't always look at it. And that's one of the things that I love about the Black is Back Coalition and being a part of the Uhuru movement. What the things we say to ourselves, the things that we allow into our ears, into our headspace, makes a difference and can become a strong GPS system for us, so to speak, a strong navigational guide in order to be able to get through this horror called colonialism. But with that, just to let people know the order for the rest of the day, we're going to be doing the call for resources, and resources also includes people power too, membership and people becoming actively involved. So that's important. So we're going to be doing that, and then we're going to have a lunch break, and we'll be coming back. But right now, Sister Belinda Parker Brown, and we have Brother Malcolm down as doing the call for resources, and of course, you will back us up. Sister Kenge, do you want to tell us what the goal is for today, if you're available?
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru.
All right, Uhuru, Sister Belinda. Our goal today is $1,000, and we just keep stopping short of that 20 million. So I'm encouraging everybody today to give a little bit extra so we can get to that 20 million.
All right.
If we get the slide, please, and tell people how they can donate.
All right. And we feel if Cop Mala,
let's go.
If Cop Mala could raise 20 million in one night, who are we that we can't do it? Or at least 1,000.
Right, Sister Lisa. And you know what? Time is the essence. Somebody can write a check right now for $1,000 so that we can get this out the way with this phenomenal program.
Yep. And if you're listening on Facebook, on social media, you can put something in the comment.
So what we want to do is get this show on the road, and go ahead, Sister Kenya. Where's Brother Life? He needs to come on up there with you somewhere.
I want to appreciate Comrade Dia, who got his membership today, $25. So that means we got $75 more to raise. So come on, somebody, who got it? Somebody got it.
We appreciate you, Brother Diop, and to get this party started, because we don't want to waste a whole lot of time on raising resources, because everybody know that we can't go too far of anywhere without the resources. And it's time, like my grandmother used to say, put your money where your mouth is. That's what we want to do. So I want to go ahead on and make my donation of $60. Put me down for $60, Ikenye.
Oh my gosh. I just feel my hand wanting to reach for Cash App again. Because you see that Cash App right there? That makes it even easier.
Right. That's what I'm using, Lisa. Yeah, I like that Cash App. We can get it done real quick and real fast.
And Sister Belinda.
So in the room, someone's passing a basket. If you've got you've got a packet you gave yesterday, you probably already used your donation slip, but please complete that donation slip. We want to be able to thank everyone properly. If you are online, I want you to go to www.blackispaccoalition.org/donate and make your donation there. You can also join the coalition. You can join as an individual member, or you can join as an organization. And one thing that I want to say about, if you're joining as an individual, you've heard all the various different working groups that the coalition has available. So there's a way that you can participate. So make sure that if you join as an individual, that you do, what is it called? Say which working group you want to participate in. So I've got Sister Belinda for $50.
Sister Mwezi pledged 50.
All right, Sister Mwezi.
I think Sister Belinda said 60. Did you get it for 60?
That's correct. $60.
She said 60. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Great.
While you doing that, Sister Kenya, I just want to say that I want to encourage, organizations to join up with us. We have the international for $200. We have the national organizations for $150, and then we have your state and local organizations for $50. I just want to say that if you are an organization and you cannot do this by yourself. You really need to be a part of the Black is Back Coalition. I just want to, say that when I was out here doing, trying to, help, my community by organizing and mobilizing people to come together. These people put a target on my back. They put a serious target on my back to not just to shut me down, but also to shut down my organization. They started, picking on my family members, my children, so when they see you out here all by yourself, and please don't think for 1 minute that you got it all together. Join up with a very powerful, organization like the Black is Back Coalition to help and assist and bring your good work to, this coalition. You can be a part of this webinar today. Your organization could be talking about all the great things that you are doing in your community right here on this webinar with us today.
Right, and I just pledged $50. I did a Cash App, so it's done.
All right, Sister Lisa for 50.
Yes.
Comrade Johan for 20. All right, Johan.
All right. And it is so.
Eugene for 10.
Woo, 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 woo,
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
All right, great.
And also.
Anybody else? If you can follow the chat, you can also go to our Cash App. To our Cash App, which is $VIBCOA, $VIBCOA on Cash App. Again, we want to raise $1,000, and I'm trying to count, but go ahead.
Sister Betty just made a Cash App donation of $200. Sister Betty, woo, 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 woo.
What is that?
Sister Betty.
Betty.
All right, Sister
Right.
Betty, $200.
Yeah, yes, and let me just say any amount. And if you don't have it all today, you can pledge, you can, break it down in installments. But one of the things, and we know that we are coming to be aware of this. I know the chairman has talked about it a lot, but we got to be free. We got to be independent of this ruthless system. And one of the ways they keep us dependent is with the purse strings. And we know that. That's why we like working 8 hours a day, every single day, and got so much on our minds that we can't even think as freely as we maybe would like to. We didn't have to, meet all these financial obligations and everything. So that's got to be part of our independence. Freedom ain't free. We got to free ourselves and support the organizations of revolution, because that's the only thing that has ever carried us through, not no Democrats or Republicans. So the Black is Back Coalition, a strong coalition of organizations and individuals. People, you all should be connected. Every Black person needs to be connected with the Black is Back Coalition and the Uhuru movement. We're like a one-stop shop. We got it all. We got it all. If there's anything you want to do, there's an organization connected with the Uhuru movement that you'll find. So join.
I want to recognize Chairman Amalia Shatella, $100.
Uhuru. Brother Sayero.
We got $550 left to raise, so don't anybody be shy. I know you got it. Just run ahead. We'll take cash, check, money order. You know what? I almost said it, EBT.
I like what you just said, Sister Lisa. The Black is Back Coalition. If you sense that you have any power with the work that you're doing with your organization, I'm gonna tell you, wait till you join up with this coalition. It's gonna empower you. It's gonna take your organization to another whole level. I'm telling you, people, you would really appreciate becoming, a member. Like Sister Lisa said, an individual member is $25, and that's a year, $25 a year. International organizations, $200. That's what, LUI, Louisiana United International. We are a international for $200 a year. You can't beat that. A lot of these, associations and different organizations, they want you to pay, double that just to be a part of their organization. And they're a defunct organization. You don't really see nothing that they're doing. So, a national organization is $150 a year. On a state level, $50 a year. People, come on and join up and be a part of this very powerful movement, the Black is Back Coalition.
Exactly. And
Sister,
Sayara,
Sister Lisa, I'd like to,
30.
pledge, renew our pledge of $150.
Go ahead, go
All
ahead,
right.
go ahead. Don't let me
Yeah,
stop you.
I know Brother Zaki can tell you, you know, the just the synergy and the excitement that being a part of the Black is Back Coalition can bring, because I'm gonna tell you, when you actually doing the work, you're doing the work and you can see the results, people, I'm telling you, it's a great thing to be a part of.
Yep. And I just want to say this much too, because we talk about how they come after us, but the truth of the matter is, when you're not connected, they really come after you. They
Right.
really come after you when you're not connected. Because I know I've been not connected when they came after me. I was like, oh my gosh.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, Sister Lisa, a lot of people take it for granted because they don't really realize the technology that they have now to watch us. You know, I have been surveilled, with, back in the day, they used to call it phone tapping, Dr. King talked about a lot of that in his movement, Malcolm X, but, they surveil our phones. They, now they're using drones, now they're using cameras where they can actually, and then also, they putting devices and stuff like that on your cars and stuff to track you, every move you make. So people don't take it for granted that you're not, if you out here doing this work, you really need to be a part of an organization, because it gives you that strength and that support that you need, because all by yourself, I'm telling you, they gonna get you. They coming for you. So, and like Sister Lisa said, there is strength and there is power in unity. I'm gonna tell you, they can't take us all down at once. They definitely can't do that.
Uhuru, I want to, let's see, Brother Zaki renewing Guapo's membership for $150. I see a Brother Donald Young, I believe it is, who donated $50. And I see Robert Brown with $20. Looks like we got $330 left to raise. $330. So thank you, everybody. Please keep giving. Don't want to get us too far off track on our program. It's time for lunch. So go to www.blackisbackcoalition.org/donate. Become a member, either organizationally or individually. If you're joining as an individual, please designate which working group you want to be a part of. You heard fantastic presentations yesterday from our working groups, and you'll hear more again today. We have a few other working groups that have been out there in the field putting down work. So there are plenty of opportunities for everyone to participate, to get in the work. September 3rd is just around the corner. We want everyone in St. Petersburg, Florida. You don't have to wait till the 3rd. You can come now and participate in Freedom Summer. Come today. Make your reservation to get here tomorrow. Drive, catch the bus, fly. I don't know if you want to come on horseback, scooter, however you want to get here, but get to St. Petersburg, Florida, to participate in Freedom Summer, and definitely be here to pack the courthouse on September 3rd.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. We got $300 left to raise. We've got a few more hours in this program, so I know that people are going to continue to give, and we are going to reach our 1,000. We're gonna make that 20 million today.
That's right. Christina
Khalil
pledged 100, and she said she'll pay it off when she can, but she pledged 100.
Sayero pledged $30.
Yeah, he pledged $30, Sayero. Did you all get that?
All right. Woo.
Woo, 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 woo. And let me also just say this much, and I have done this before, trust me. When you use that name, you're with the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. When you use that full name, oh, trust me, they will listen to it. And then you copy everybody involved in the Black is Back Coalition. Oh, trust me, Trust me.
A witness, Lisa. That's
Yeah, I can say that for
what we're talking
sure.
about that. We want that power. I'm telling you, people, it's in the Black is Back coalition. Black is back.
Right on.
Yes. So now we are going, first of all, we want to thank everybody. We know your time and your money means everything, and any amount that you can give is just as valuable to us no matter what, because we know it comes from your heart and we appreciate it all. And now we are going to have a lunch break. That's an hour, Sister Ikenge?
That's correct.
So it's 1:03 right now, 1:03 Eastern Standard Time. Please come back at 2:03 Eastern Standard Time. If you're online listening in social media land, please come back in an hour. Let people know the time is now. We cannot continue to go on the way things have been going. Closer to nuclear.
I think, yeah, we want this to go viral. Everybody
Yes.
now, go spend some time to share this webinar. People, you can continue to give just because we're going for a break now. You can continue to give and share this webinar. We will be back in what time? We coming back, Lisa?
Coming back at 2:04.
Okay, that's
Right.
2:04 Eastern Time?
Yes, Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time, 2:04.